Lena Hassanel, and this is Nightline. The top stories. NATMA ordered to strengthen Borneo flood response. And no survivors expected after plane and helicopter crash over Washington, D.C. River. The headlining story. U.S. officials on Thursday said there were likely no survivors after a passenger jet carrying 64 people collided mid-air with a military helicopter and crashed into the icy waters of Washington's Potomac River.
D.C. Fire Department officials said that search and rescue efforts were transitioning to a recovery operation with 30 bodies recovered and no survivors. While no official death toll has been announced, U.S. Senator Roger Marshall suggested most, if not all, on board had been killed. Meanwhile, there were no details on the cause of the crash, with transport officials saying both aircraft were on standard flight patterns on a clear night with good visibility.
So we're not going to wait for all the information to come in from this vantage point, but to back up what the president said, what I've seen so far, do I think this was preventable? Absolutely.
Investigators are now trying to piece together the aircraft's final moments before their collision, including contact with air traffic controllers as well as a loss of altitude by the passenger jet. So far, no black boxes have been recovered from the crash scene yet.
Meanwhile, according to Federal Aviation Administration, the mid-air crash happened at about 9 p.m. local time on Wednesday, when an American Airlines passenger plane carrying 64 people at the end of a flight from Kansas collided with a military helicopter, carrying 3 soldiers on a training exercise. A few minutes before the regional jet was to land, air traffic controllers asked American Airlines Flight 5342 if it could land on a shorter runway, and the pilots agreed. Controllers cleared the jet to land, and flight tracking sites showed the plane adjust its approach to the new runway. Less than 30 seconds before the crash, an air traffic controller asked a helicopter if it had seen the arriving plane in sight. The controller made another radio call to the helicopter moments later, but there was no reply. Seconds after that, the 2 aircraft collided before crashing into a river, prompting a major emergency response and the grounding of all flights. Officials said the body of the plane was found upside down in 3 sections in waist-deep water, while the wreckage of the helicopter was found mostly intact. Back home, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has instructed the National Disaster Management Agency, NATMA, on Thursday to enhance the coordination of all federal and state agencies in assisting the flood victims in Sabah and Sarawak. Anwar said the main priority was the welfare of the victims, as well as the safety of residents in affected areas. In a Facebook post, Anwar expressed deep concern over those affected by floods in the 2 states. He stated that the Ihsan Madani squad would be deployed to assist flood victims at temporary relief centres and will remain on standby for post-flood recovery operations. The State Education Department has also been instructed to take necessary steps in ensuring that the Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia SPM examination candidates impacted by the floods could sit for their exams safely and in a conducive environment. The Prime Minister also expressed hope that all those affected will be granted patience and resilience in enduring this challenging time. Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi has ordered the mobilization of assets to assist with evacuations and aid, including the construction of temporary bridges in all flood-affected areas throughout Sarawak. Zahid, who is the National Disaster Management Committee chairman, also stated that the authorities are currently evaluating the need to build Bailey bridges in areas cut off by floods.
Kita telah koordinasikan dengan Kor Jurutera, Angkatan Tentera dan juga pihak JKR untuk membina jambatan dalam tempoh 72 jam selepas kajian terperinci mengenai kesesuaian muka bumi itu.
He said this to the media after attending an event at a school in Bagandato, Pera on Thursday. He added that NATMA will also coordinate with relevant stakeholders, including the Education Ministry, to identify more school halls and community centres suitable for use as temporary relief centres or PPS. The early warning system has also been activated to issue alerts at least 3 days before a high tide incident to facilitate evacuation process and allow residents to safeguard important documents and belongings. In the meantime, Women, Family and Community Development Minister Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri has urged all parties, including NGOs, as well as individuals providing aid to flood victims, to cooperate with the State Disaster Management Committee. This was important to ensure smooth disaster management and efficient aid distribution, especially in areas cut off by floods. At the same time, flood victims are also reminded to comply with evacuation orders and to register themselves in order to facilitate the distribution of aid.
Kalau mereka tidak berdaftar agak sukar. Sebab lepas itu kerajaan ada memang memberi melalui ICU memberi RM1,000 satu keluarga.
She was speaking to the media after visiting the Temporary Relief Centre at Dewan Haji Kamarudin, Kampung Sugadup in Kuching. The flood situation in Sabah and Sarawak has worsened, with the total number of evacuees in the two states rising to 12,010 evacuees as of 10 p.m. on Thursday. Sabah recorded 4,990 evacuees being placed in 37 temporary relief centres (PPS) throughout the state, with the worst-hit district, Kota Marudu, housing 2,864 evacuees in 8 relief centres. Other districts affected are Lahad Datu, Kota Belud, Telupit, Pitas, Beluran, Sandakan, Beaufort, Tongot and Paitan. In Sarawak, 2,199 people have been evacuated to 31 PPS in the state. The most affected district is Cebu, with 504 evacuees in 4 PPS, followed by Kuching, Sirian, Samarahan, Miri and Bintulu. Meanwhile, the safety of residences in hillside areas in Sarawak will be discussed soon at the State Disaster Management Committee meeting. Sarawak Deputy Premier Datuk Douglas Ugah Embas said there is a need to assess the condition of houses located in the hillside areas, especially in light of the recent landslide tragedy in Miri on Wednesday, which claimed the lives of 5 people.
What we're going to do next, that we will discuss, because that will be a long-term solution.
He said this after visiting the temporary evacuation centre at SJKC Chunghua in Batukawa. He also announced financial assistance of 50,000 ringgit for the families of the victims who lost their lives in the incident. Malaysia's efforts to rebuild Gaza and support the Palestinian people reflect its commitment and continuous concern for the war-torn nation. Palestinian ambassador to Malaysia, Walid Abu Ali, emphasized that such strong support and solidarity hold great meaning and hope for restoration efforts. According to Walid, the collapse of Gaza's development system due to Israel's attacks require immediate action and international aid. Walid also lauded Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim for voicing out Malaysia's unwavering support for Palestine.
He always shared his views on behalf of Malaysians that his support and solidarity with Palestine and the Palestinian cause never change. And his position is clear locally, regionally and internationally.
He hopes that the international community, especially Muslim countries, can emulate Malaysia's commitment in rebuilding Gaza's nearly destroyed support system. On Wednesday, Datuk Sri Anwar announced that Malaysia will spearhead Gaza's reconstruction by building a school, a hospital and a mosque as part of its commitment to Palestinian redevelopment. Malaysia will also set up a fund with Japan under the East Asia Initiative to support the reconstruction of Gaza and Palestine, following the recently agreed ceasefire.
What game-changing opportunities did Malaysia seize at the World Economic Forum WEF 2025? How is Malaysia positioning itself in the global economic landscape? And what's next for Malaysia after WEF's bold economic talks? Zahir Kelvin Ong Abdullah sits down with the Institute of Strategic and International Studies, ISIS, only on Money Matters, this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and stream on Tonton.
In Kuala Lumpur, 5 men have been arrested on Thursday following a viral video showing a pickup truck and a sedan plowing into a group of people. Brickfield's District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Ku Mashariman Ku Mahmud said the police are investigating the incident as attempted murder. Ku Mashariman said that a report on the matter was lodged on Wednesday. The incident, which occurred outside a nightclub on Old Klang Road, left 2 people injured and is believed to have stemmed from an argument between 2 groups during a party. The recording showed the pickup truck and the sedan speeding before veering into the path of the group outside the building. Moments later, the 2 vehicles were seen driving against the flow of traffic before attempting to ram into the same group, hitting 1 person. Both vehicles then made a 3rd attempt to ram into the group, with the car believed to have hit a motorcycle. The case is being investigated under the Penal Code for attempted murder. A couple has been remanded for 6 days following the death of their 7-year-old daughter at Kajang Hospital after post-mortem revealed signs of physical abuse. District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Nazron Abdul Yusuf said the child was brought to the hospital unconscious at about 1 a.m. on Wednesday by her parents, aged 38 and 40. She was pronounced dead upon arrival at the red zone of the emergency department. Subsequent forensic examination conducted the same day found multiple injuries on the victim's body, both old and new. The cause of the death was determined to be abdominal injuries caused by a blunt object. The case is being investigated under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder. In Johor, a total of 24 motorcycles were engulfed in flames when a workshop on Jalan Shaban, Kampung Bendahara in Johor Bahru was destroyed in a fire early on Thursday. The Terbau Fire and Rescue Department was alerted to the incident at 3:56 a.m. Almost 80% of the workshop was destroyed in the blaze. However, no injuries were reported. According to the owner of the workshop, Muhammad Azizman Muhammad Noor, nearly half of the burnt motorcycles belonged to the customers whose bikes had already been repaired. He estimated the losses from the incident to be over 100,000 ringgit. The firefighting operation, involving 20 personnel from the Tebrau and Johor Jaya fire stations, was completed by 5:30 a.m. A husband and wife have been arrested to assist in the investigation of fraud involving more than 95,000 ringgit linked to comedian Along Cham's wife, Afrina Suhaimi. Selangor Police Chief Datuk Hussein Omar Khan said the couple, both in their 20s, were picked up at their home in Salat Tinggi, Sepang on Wednesday night and have prior records related to fraud.
Kita telah buat tangkapan ke atas 2 orang suspek lah, isteri dan suami dia. Dan pada hari ini kita reman isteri dapat 4 hari, manakala suami dapat 3 hari. Mereka ni adalah yang berhubungan dengan pengadu. Tangkapan yang pertama ni memang ada kes penipuan dalam 5 kes penipuan sebelum ni lah. Ada rekod.
The General Operations Force, GOF, has uncovered a total of 73 storage units in Rantau Panjang and Tumpat, Kelantan, near the Malaysia-Thailand border, suspected of being used for smuggling activities. The storage units have been built on private land extending to the Sungai Bangkis of Golok. Thailand masters heartbreak. According to GOF Southeast Brigade Commander Datuk Nik Ros Azhan Nik Abdul Hamid, the stores were detected within the GOF's area of responsibility, spanning from Pulau Tengkorak in Pangkalan Kubor to Pangkalan Haram Bagus in Rantau Panjang. It is believed that the storage units were set up in order to hinder the authorities from monitoring the activities within. The owners of the storage units are suspected of being actively engaged in smuggling, rather than merely renting out the premises. The GOF said it will conduct further inspections if any suspicious activities are reported. As such, owners of such storage unit are reminded not to exploit their premises for illegal activities. Thailand Masters heartbreak for national shuttlers. Sports after this breather.
Jom.
Jom ke CU untuk nikmati rasa Korea sebenar.
Kalau anak saya tu, saya tak nak dia macam dia hilang kasih sayang seorang ayah. Saya setiap hari saya doa, Ya Allah, kau panjangkan umur. Saya tak nak isteri saya jadi susah payah macam mana mak saya besarkan saya. Ya Allah, kau panjangkan umurku. At least keluarga saya dah ada benchmark. Diorang dah senang. Kalau ajal aku dah sampai, aku redha ya Allah. Tapi bukan sekarang.
Rasai vibrasi nada rasa 10 finalis anugerah juara lagu 39 dengan mendapatkan tiket di www.walltix.com.my atau imbas kod QR berikut. Kalau takut sold out, beli tiket sekarang. Hidupkan nada rasa di malam anugerah juara lagu 39 secara langsung di Axiata Arena Ahad 16 Februari 9 malam, eksklusif di TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton. Terangkat rasa.
Cara bernyanyimu luar biasa. Saya salut dan keren sangat.
Keren sangat nih.
Sangat.
You understand apa yang you luahkan.
Whether you menang or not 1 million, I'm going to make a prediction. AJL tahun depan, awak ada.
Sports now, badminton, the 2025 Thailand Masters. The national team's journey in the Super 300 tournament came to a heartbreaking end on Thursday after most of our shuttlers were eliminated in the second round. Playing his first tournament as an independent shuttler, Jackie Kok Jing Hong could not keep up with South Korea's world number 35, Jeon Hyuk Jin, suffering a 13-21, 18-21 defeat in the men's singles category. Women's singles shuttler S. Kisona's run also came to an end after she went down fighting 21-13, 14-21, 17-21 to third seed Putri Kusuma Wardani of Indonesia. Former Olympic silver medalist Goh Vi Shem and his new South Korean partner Choi Sol-gyu bowed out in the men's doubles event after losing 11-21, 18-21 to Indonesia's world number 21 Leo Rolly Karnando Bagas Maulana. Earlier, the nation's mixed doubles challenge also ended after world number 79 Lu Bing Kun Ho Lo I fell 7-21, 21-18, 14-21 to Indonesia's Adnan Maulana Indah Cahaya Jamil in 37 minutes. On to football, the Argentine Primera Division. Boca Juniors missed out on their first win after a last-gasp Franco Fragapan goal for Union cancelled out Marcelo Saraki's early opener for the visitors on Wednesday. Coming off a draw against Argentinos Juniors in their Sunday opener, Boca put in a solid performance in the first half, grabbing the lead just 5 minutes into the game after Saraki hammered a powerful strike off the crossbar and into the net. Substitute Kevin Zenon could have extended Boca's lead in the 78th minute, but goalkeeper Thiago Cardoso blocked his attempt in a one-on-one. The hosts then pushed for an equalizer, but struggled to create any clear-cut chances to breach a solid Boca backline. until former Boca striker Fragapan pounced on a loose ball in the box to fire low and equalize 2 minutes into stoppage time. Turning to tennis, the 2025 Linz Open. Maria Sakkari reached the quarterfinals of the WTA Tour tournament for the first time in the season as she stormed past Bulgaria's Victoria Tomova on Wednesday. The third seed asserted her dominance early and maintained her aggressive pace to close out the match in dominant fashion by securing a convincing 6-3, 6-2 victory. The world number 31 Greek will face the winner of the match between Ukrainian Diana Yastremska and Croat qualifier Antonia Ruzic next. Release of Palestinian prisoners begins after delay by Israel. The details when Nightline returns.
Pergi ke YD Media memang impian saya dengan arwah bapa. Dari kecil, saya selalu buat melodi lagu. Dan papa selalu nak dengar. Sampai dia dapat duit pencen. Dia keluarkan 15,000 untuk sewa mini album. Dan kita orang kena tipu dengan satu record label. Satu kopi pun saya tak dapat. Dan sebelum papa pergi, papa ada cakap, Alin, jangan stop.
Unlocking the future of business.
From industry evolutions to policy changes, we go beyond the headlines.
Deep insights, sharp analysis.
Understanding the forces driving tomorrow's economy.
Key financial insights that drive decisions.
This is Money Matters, every Saturday, 5 p.m.
Only on TV3 and stream now on Tonton.
Dulu saya orang yang sangat anak ayah. Jadi ayah yang always, Mariam, you have to do this, you can do this, you can do that. Jadi bila arwah ayah tak ada, benda tu sebenarnya I lost my biggest support. Saya cakap dengan diri saya, Mariam, teruskan fight dan perjuangkan apa yang sebenarnya Mariam nak dari dulu. Dan percayalah, rezeki itu tak pernah salah alamat.
So waktu busking tu pernah lah sekali tengah menyanyi macam tu, main lagu slow sikit boleh tak? Bising lah. Direct macam tu. Pernah kena tipu, pernah kena pijak dengan orang sekeliling. Diorang gunakan saya macam tu. Pernah juga sampai duduk seorang diri lah. Tak keluar mana-mana selama sebulan juga lebih kurang. Muzik pun tak main. Why? Jangan nak yang orang. Tak baik. Saya cuba untuk tidak membenci. Saya cuba untuk ambil itu sebagai semangat untuk saya bangkit lagi.
Welcome back. US President Donald Trump unveiled a surprise plan to detain thousands of undocumented migrants in Guantanamo Bay, distracting people from spiraling confusion after he also threatened to deport international students who participated in pro-Palestinian protests. Trump on Wednesday said he had ordered construction of a detention camp to hold up to 30,000 of what he called criminal illegal aliens at the notorious military facility. The plan intensifies the crackdown on illegal immigration that Trump has pledged in his second term. At the same time, the president also signed an executive order instructing federal agencies to lay the foundations to deport international students who participated in pro-Palestinian demonstrations. While the order broadly directs agencies to find ways to combat anti-Semitism, it also calls for an investigation into pro-Hamas graffiti and intimidation on college campuses. In the latest development in the Israel-Hamas ceasefire agreement, Israel has begun freeing Palestinian prisoners slated for release earlier on Thursday. The release of more than 100 Palestinian prisoners had been delayed by the Zionist regime after chaotic scenes surrounding the release of 8 Israeli and Thai citizens in Gaza earlier in the day. The Palestinian prisoners were freed as part of the third hostage for prisoner swap in the ongoing ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. However, the office of the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, had earlier said he had suspended the prisoners' release until mediators of the ceasefire secured guarantees from Hamas of the safe exit of their people in the next rounds. On another note, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Wednesday said that forced displacement of the Gazans is an injustice that Egypt cannot take part in, after U.S. President Donald Trump floated a plan to move Palestinians from the territory to Egypt and Jordan. Speaking at a press conference with visiting Kenyan President, Sisi said Egypt would instead work with Trump to reach peace between Israel and Palestinians based on a two-state solution, and added that Egypt's historic position on the Palestinian cause can never be compromised. Indian authorities have now ordered a probe into the deadly stampede in Uttar Pradesh on Thursday, as swarming throngs of devotees continued to bathe in rivers at the Mahakumbh Mela festival, undeterred by a stampede a day earlier that killed nearly 40 people. According to officials, at least 39 people were killed in the crush and 90 were left injured. The death toll is expected to rise. Wednesday's pre-dawn disaster, which saw a surging crowd spill out of a police cordon and trample bystanders, prompted some spooked pilgrims to leave the festival. However, despite the early morning disaster, devotees continued with the rituals hours later, with more than 76 million people taking a dip in the 3 sacred rivers just on Wednesday alone. And that concludes Nightline this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look as Niagara Falls was shrouded in a dense layer of snow and ice as severe cold weather conditions hit the Canadian province of Ontario. With that, I'm Nana Hassanel. Thank you for watching and be well, Malaysia.